The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Great to have you in on a Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and you will get our starting five shout-outs going. What is happening in the portal? What's the latest on Rocco? A lot of questions being asked. Try and get you some answers. Hope you're doing well. We'll check in here in a little bit with the Pride of Ord, Andy Markowski, going to join us. Get some Husker Hoops thoughts. Plenty of football today as well. Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7 Sports in Hour 2. And we'll run down Mitch Sherman from The Athletic and the Locked On Nebraska podcast at 5:25. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240, 800-825-5865, where you hear us across the Hail Varsity Radio Network. And also get the podcast downloaded on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and always watch and like the show on YouTube, Hail Varsity YouTube. We'll hear from Matt Rule coming up on Saturday. Big recruiting weekend for Nebraska. A lot of 2026 talent going to be making their way to Lincoln for Junior Day. Rule, of course, down in Birmingham at the Senior Bowl. That's been all over social media. Some Husker baseball thoughts. We'll get there as well. Elijah, how you doing, man? What's a good word? Are you no bowling tonight?
No, we do have bowling tonight.
Okay.
It's a big night.
I love
tonight.
Tuesdays because that means we're closer to Friday, but specifically I like living vicariously through you as the athlete you are.
Athlete's one way to put it. It's a big night, Schmitty. I don't think it can be
Championship?
It is city tournament week.
Ooh.
Yeah, so our team of 3 has turned into a team of 5 for the week. We've merged with another team in our league.
You two have gone to the portal.
Yeah, we've gone to the portal. And well, this is the team that we've thrown together the past couple of years. And we've finished top 5 in the city in 2 out of the last 3 years.
Out of how many?
A couple hundred.
Okay, I just was making sure it wasn't
the whole city.
A Schmidt race where you say I finished 5th, but it was out of 5.
It's the whole city. The whole city shows up for the city tournament, and we finished top 5 in 2 out of the last 3 years. We haven't won it all, though. I think it was a second place finish and a third place finish in the past couple of years.
So there is all sorts of urgency.
There is urgency. We need to get it done. We've been close to the mountaintop. You know, we've been the Buffalo Bills, where you just sit there and then Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are inevitable. Enough. We're good enough to be near the top and not good enough to be at the mountaintop. So this could be the year it happens for us. Got to be locked in. It's great. My brother, I said it last week, he had his best night of the season last week. So I think that's a great place to be. My dad's back home from the Dominican Republic, some rest, some relaxation, hopefully put him in a good mental space. As for me, I was just all right last week. So I think it leaves me some room to improve this week. It's going to be big.
It'll be big for Nebraska to land one Rocco Spindler. Let's start there and talk a little bit about this offensive lineman, right guard from Notre Dame. What did Notre Dame end up with? 16 games this year? Were they 14-2? Does that sound right? 13-2?
Yeah.
15, 16 games. Sorry. You all know me. You all know me by now with my math.
It's 16 games
because
they have the 4 games for the college football playoff because they don't have a conference title game.
Right. Thank you.
12 plus 4.
So pretty much Rocco started what's the equivalent of an entire season, was thrust in there to play right guard as Notre Dame had the injury situation. And right now it's looking good for Nebraska. You have E.J. Holland. He's a recruiting insider from Michigan that's crystal balled Rocco to Nebraska. No official announcement yet. You have the Indiana visit over the weekend, and then Indiana's deadline to enroll. Nebraska's deadline is, I assume, the old Canfield administration building shuts down around 4:30, maybe 5. Maybe it's already shut down, but
well, it doesn't matter. I've been doing some research, Schmidt.
Tell me about your research.
One, Rocco Spindler can already be found in the University of Nebraska's student directory.
Aha, the good old directory. That was a go-to. Is so-and-so still here? Well, he's not listed in the directory anymore.
So Spindler is already listed in the directory. Now, does that mean Rocco Spindler is coming to Nebraska? Not necessarily. This is what you do whenever there's a chance and it's going to be close to a deadline like you have with this. Well, hey, let's just get him into the directory preemptively.
System, son.
Get him in. We'll make it real fast once/if you decide to come here to Nebraska, son. So he's in the directory, which is a positive step.
We just don't know if he's in the locker room yet. So let's just talk like Rocco is in. All right. I don't know about Moose, but we can nickname somebody on the offensive line Moose. That way you have Moose and Rocco, and they can be your heavies, specifically on 3rd and 4th and short. But you look at Rocco and what he's been able to do, you got to ask a couple questions. One, this is a no-doubter if you're Nebraska. Right now, with what you have on the offensive line, you can get a guy that played in the national championship, came in, and Notre Dame's offensive line has been good. They have depth, they have talent. And listen, the guy doesn't leave a spot he really kicked butt in unless he's not safe to regain that starting spot. Okay. It's not that he couldn't go win the starting spot, but why not go get paid and have a really good shot at going to a spot that may really need you versus the abundance of riches Notre Dame has on the offensive line.
Well, could you work your way into a starting role next season at Notre Dame? Yeah, it's very possible. He performed well along the offensive line this year. But ask yourself, is Notre Dame going to pay what other schools are going to pay? Because let's be clear, because to Notre Dame, he's a rotational offensive lineman. It's the experience you like to have, but we've talked about plenty in the portal. Depth in college football is getting rarer and rarer to find simply because
go buy depth.
Other schools are going to go buy your depth and make them starters. That's the situation you're looking at here. Other schools that need a guy like Spindler more than Notre Dame are going to come pay a starter's price, whereas Notre Dame, he's a rotational piece to them. He's a depth piece to them. Could he end up being a starter? Could he earn that job in fall camp? Very possible. Is it also possible that he ends up being on the bench all next season long? Sure. So that's what Notre Dame and their NIL people have to work through, whereas and Nebraska's NIL people or Michigan or Indiana can look at him and say, that's a starter.
Well, and go get a guy that's good enough to start for you. And Nebraska may do that. And let's talk about positioning here. Let's talk about guards. Let's talk about center and what Nebraska's spot looks like. You've got Evans at guard, left guard. You have a need at center, potentially, or you've got your guy Sledge, or you have Evans at center. You move him over, and you've got Lutoski at right guard. Do you move Lutoski to left guard because Sledge has 1 year to go and he is at right guard, and that's where he's played all of his career. So you can mix and match. You've got Bricks that's been on the interior. You've got some other options, Elijah, that listen, and say Turner comes back and is another option for you at guard or tackle because he's played both and gets healthy and stays healthy and wants to give it another college try. I mean, we've just listed off some depth, some guys that have played a lot of football, some guys that haven't played a lot of football, but they've been in the old smoker, right, getting seasoned. And I love the competition options. And if you do get Rocco, listen, guy was good enough to help get a team to the national championship. Is he the best lineman on that line? No, but he's a guy that was one of five that was good enough to keep on trucking through the playoffs, and you'll absolutely go get it. And let's see who you beat out. You beat out Michigan, and you beat out Indiana.
Potentially. The word on the street is that Nebraska probably has the highest bid in this recruitment. So something to consider. But I think Notre Dame's an interesting example to bring up, Schmidt, because they kind of underscore what you're looking for on the offensive lines. They did in this past football season, which it's every spot along the offensive line. They got one guy they feel great about and another guy backing him up that they say, well, you know what? If worst comes to worst and he has to come in and play, we feel good about this guy. He can play. That's what you're looking for. One guy at every single spot you feel great about, and you say, you know what? in pin, that's our starter headed into fall camp. And then one guy behind him that in pencil, if you have to move him up and become your starter for the year due to injury, suspension, whatever may happen, you have another guy that you say, you know what, we feel good about putting this guy into the offensive line. I don't think Nebraska has that right now. I mean, you look at the college football playoff teams, Notre Dame's not the only example. It's just a convenient example to use. A lot of college football playoff teams have that every single year as well. Nebraska, I think coming into this right now, how many guys do you feel great about? I mean, the guy in terms of the guys that in pin are going to have to start for you next year, Pritchett, you brought him in to be the starter. So yeah, I think you have to feel good about what that is. And if you don't feel good about it now, you need to get that ready to go by the time fall camp rolls around, that you feel good about him being your right tackle. I think you feel good about Gatula, assuming that the injury doesn't hold him back from some offseason development. You feel good about what he can be next year. Evans, you feel good about whether he's a guard or a center. And then Latovsky's kind of on that line where he had a good year this year. Would you like an upgrade? Yeah, maybe potentially. And maybe that upgrade comes from him through development, but you feel good about that. Depth-wise is where I really have some concerns, along with the fact that Nebraska, between guard and center, is probably lacking one guy you feel really good about. If Sledge is the current plan without Spindler, it makes you go, okay, I'm not sure you feel great about that option.
No, and what you do here is you go buy a starter, and if he wins the job, great. If not, you've got that depth piece. And let's be real honest about the tough situation Nebraska's had at tackle, right? You lose your top two. You lose your top two that have played football for you. And you get your redshirt freshman, right? I'm carrying the one with Gatula. And he played really well for you. He played really well at a young age because he's a good football player. He's taken to development, and the sky's the limit for him. He can be a really solid ball player for you. And he came in and he wasn't perfect all the time, but he was damn good for his age. He was damn good for his age, and he was not a liability, comparatively speaking, to other. He wasn't a sore thumb on the offensive line at all.
No.
And he quite honestly, I think he outperformed guys that have been there way longer.
I made
protecting the quarterback.
I made this comparison just last week. I mean, a redshirt freshman season from Gatula that felt reminiscent of what Searles put together his redshirt freshman season. Was he perfect? No. Did he have some tough days? Yeah. Did you see enough to think, man, that's going to be a dude for you moving forward? Absolutely.
Yes. And I look at Searles playing earlier. I look at Nick Gates playing early. Gates played really well early in his career. And listen, I think Gatula is somebody you feel great about. I feel best about Evans.
Yeah.
Okay, at guard. But maybe they move him to center. I like Sledge. I mean, we've seen him for quite a while, and he's been getting lab time, and we'll see where Bricks goes. But just get me the ability to find your five best you get on the field, and then get me a backup at your guard spot that can also play center, and get me a swing tackle. Can play both spots. I know I'm asking for a lot of Christmas here. Well, but that's what you're moving towards now at this 105 roster.
Yeah, let me ask you, Schmitty, based on what we saw last year, if they can put together an offensive line that performs the exact same as last year, change out the names, but the performance is the exact same, is that good enough for Nebraska in 2025, or do they need to be upgraded?
I think they need to play better. They need to be able to run the ball better, and that's also a commitment to it. And I think you'll have that with Dana. I mean, he'll want to be balanced, and I think there's an urgency. You're going to get Dana. You're going to get Coach Donnie. You're going to get Coach Rule. I mean, they are going to demand more in year 3. You're going to demand more with an offensive coordinator that, guess what? He wants to score a lot of points, and it's not just a lot of points one Saturday against Wisconsin. He wants to be able to put up 30 or more in a league that doesn't do that a whole lot. Because conversely, defensively, how good and how strong are you going to be up the middle with losing your two big pillars? Because that's a thing with a new coordinator. Uncle Larry is in as we get our starting 5 shout-outs. The other Dave is here. Dave, good to have you. Captain is in. Captain, thank you for checking in. The real Matthew is here. Steve checks in. And says, beautiful day to walk the dogs. I think my wife left the back gate open for our 3 pups. She had had enough of them. Brent is here. Says, hello, clowns. I'm wondering if Mahomes will take Dylan to the Super Bowl. Don't know. Haven't asked either, but we'll get on that for you.
Well, I don't think Dylan needs to be brought to the Super Bowl with, the NIL money that some of these Nebraska kids are reeling in right now.
No, brother, it's
expensive.
It is expensive as all get
It's
out.
Expensive for a common man like you and me.
I think Dom can get NFLPA Super Bowl prices though.
This is what I don't think Dylan needs to be brought along to the Super Bowl.
I
think if Dylan wants to go to the Super Bowl, Dylan can go to the Super Bowl.
Our buddy Jay Moore, if Detroit would have gotten there, I think there'd have been.
This is also an interesting off-season topic of discussion. So, the Super Bowl is not on my bucket list like it used to be. Making it to like one Super Bowl used to be on my bucket list. Now I look at it, it's so much less about the football now. It's like it's a social event for the movers and shakers of the world more now, and I don't care to see it.
Well, my buddy Uncle Nate went, and I think he went to the New England Seattle one.
Oh,
it was incredible. The goal line
to give it to Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, the old Marshawn. Missed opportunity. Brian is here. Been in a cave. Did we sign the lineman yet? Brian, we are working on that. Rocco is in. Not that Rocco, but Rocco in the stream chat.
Saying we need more Roccos in Nebraska.
We need more Roccos in Nebraska. Anonymous is here. Love that. Anonymous said, yeah, Casey Thompson was in the directory last year too.
Where's the perfect place to go for lunch every day?
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Where can you watch all of your favorite college and professional sports all season long?
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Who's got family-friendly entertainment all throughout the week, including trivia, music bingo, and live music every Friday?
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Hurrdat Sports Bar in La Vista is the spot for lunch, date night, corporate events, or even a late-night cocktail. A one-of-a-kind spot for sports fans and more. Behind Cabela's in La Vista.
Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
At Arnie's Pet Foods, they believe a happy dog is a healthy dog, and it all starts with the food they eat. Many name brand foods you see on TV list corn as the first ingredient. At Arnie's, the first ingredient in their pet foods is whole meat, what every dog requires. Stop by and see their selection of award-winning 5-star, highly nutritious dog foods, high in meat, low in carbs, and no corn. Arnie's Pet Foods, Alamo Plaza, 56 and Highway 2, where they care as much for your pets as they do their own. Online at arniespetfoods.com.
When you choose new flooring, you don't want to wait for weeks or months to enjoy it. You want it installed right away. Hi, Steve Carper from O Street Carpet. We hear stories every day about long waits and installation charges way higher than necessary. When you choose O Street Carpet, we'll measure free, install right away, and at a much better price. Stop in, shop now. Proud to be Lincoln's choice for nearly 50 years.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street and ostreetcarpet.com.
This is Officer Abley with the Lincoln Police Department. Nothing's better than getting into a warm car. If you don't have a remote starter, please stay with your car, even if you forgot something in the house. If you don't, it just might go on a joyride without you, and so will your kid's school project, sports equipment, or your briefcase, or worse, your wallet or purse. So what will it be? 5 minutes sitting in a chilly car, or 5 days waiting for the police to find it? Don't leave it. You could lose it.
They say no two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app with over 16 million subscriptions sold? Well, we thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. She's an artist and absolutely a visual learner. She's doing a deep dive into our Babbel wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Malcolm is very much a type A, say it to my face type of learner. So he checks with Babbel's speech recognition to make sure that accent.
Sur le point.
Keith is sweet. He's a be in the room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
Wherever you are, however you learn.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point at you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. The pride of Ord is with us. Andy Markowski, former Husker standout at Markowski_Andy on Twitter. You can catch him on the Pius sideline. Catch him watching Husker women's and men's basketball. And Andy, how we doing? Good week. Thanks for the time.
Not a problem, guys. So it's enjoying the weather right now. So everything's good.
It is. It'll still be pretty decent weather Thursday when Illinois comes to town. Nebraska trying to put the old brakes on this skid. And you've been around Nebraska basketball your whole life. And you know the mood the fan base gets in when things kind of go on the wrong way streak. And your reaction to kind of the narrative out there that, you know, this season's over and done, a lot of basketball left, but the team needs to figure it out despite the schedule they've been, you know, set in front of them.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think the season's over. You know, they went from positioning themselves pretty well in the non-con to, you know, kind of being inside that bubble line, and then, you know, certainly losing, you know, several in a row here has you know, changes, you know, the outlook a little bit, but there's still a lot of basketball to play. I believe, you know, the back half of the schedule gets a little easier. You know, certainly they've got to shore up some areas and play a little better, but I do think, you know, they've had a chance to win, you know, 2 or 3 of these games in this losing stretch, which, you know, they didn't. And then there's been a couple games that they just haven't, you know, done some of the little things that you need to do to compete in the Big Ten. So I'm still optimistic. Certainly this team, you know, has some warts that is starting to show in a, you know, very, you know, kind of balanced league. It's just there's a few pretty good teams, and then there's just a lot of good teams. If you don't play well, you're going to lose.
Andy, now that we're, firmly into Big Ten playing, we've seen what this team is. What's your take on Nebraska's portal acquisitions from last offseason? I mean, they're kind of setting themselves up for the fact that they have to turn their roster over every single year, and you need to get some hits in the transfer portal. Now that you've seen the portal guys, Mia, Raleigh, you have Andrew Morgan, Sejan. What do you make of the class of guys they brought in via the portal last offseason? Was it good enough?
Well, it's hard to just say is that good enough. There's a lot of factors in building the team. I like their pieces. I mean, the pieces have been competitive, minus just a couple games where they've lost by a decent margin. I mean, they've lost 5 games by 3 points, right? So I think you have to keep it in perspective. I've been a little disappointed, and I thought the point guard play could have a chance to be better than it was a year ago, and that has probably not been the case here during this stretch. I thought, Worcester, not starting and then came in and helped them Wisconsin game. Ulyss has had some moments, but certainly missing 3 weeks due to an ankle sprain, didn't help that. And then, I just think their overall consistency in their front line hasn't been great. And Morgan at times has played well and has found ways to score. Berkey has kind of been in and out of some injuries, but when he's played well, they've had a chance to win. So Sejan, I think he's done what they thought, he's capable of doing is being a good open 3-point shooter. So I like their acquisitions. At times they just haven't had Bryce play his best. Gary's probably not a true second scorer for them to be in the top third of the league. And then, that third scorer has just been inconsistent by some of the portal guys that I mentioned, but, they still have a lot to play for. They still could be right at 500 in the league if they turn this thing around, but certainly, they've got to find a way to win, and Illinois at home and at Oregon, the next 2 doesn't, make that sound like it's any easier to end this losing streak.
Eddie Markowski with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Andy, how do you get Bryce going again? And the same for Jawan. I know, and I agree with you that He's a big time complementary piece when it's going on offense. Defensively and the rebound side of things is where he's best at. So those are your two guys. Those are your two guys that have come back, and they have really been struggling.
Yeah, and Bryce needs some other pieces to play better, right? I mean, the scouting is just great in this league, and they're going to take your strength away from you, and Bryce has just really struggled getting open shots. So, I think the best thing for him is to have some of the ancillary pieces play better where teams have to, stop focusing as much on him. Gary, Juwan is who he is. I mean, he's just very active. He's never going to be a great shooter, even though he hasn't proved that. I think he's starting to attack the rim more and try to play a little bit more to his strengths, but they just need collectively, they need to play better. I do think there's been some teams that have shot it better than what they're capable of, and you can say like it's defense or it's rotation. I mean, there's a lot of contested threes that teams have made through this stretch that I don't know if they can continually shoot it that well. You look at USC, who didn't make a three in the first half. They make 6 in the second half, and that was really the difference of winning and losing that game. So they have been snake bit a little bit through this streak, but if they can rebound a little better, if they can defend the three a little better, and then have similar ancillary pieces step up, this is still a team that night in and night out can win games in this league.
What's your take on Thursday night? What needs to happen for Nebraska? Clearly, the 3-point line needs to go in their favor and better defensively. But right now, that invincibility has been shaken a little bit. I mean, you crank out 20 in a row, and then you lose a couple in a row now as you try and stop the bleeding at PBA. Illinois is really, really good, really, really talented, but Nebraska has been able to take teams down of their caliber time and time again at PBA. Yeah,
certainly Illinois has, not a full roster. With I think the second league stores out with mono, so that's a break that Nebraska needs. But plenty of good players on that roster. But yeah, the true test is do you trust and believe in what you're doing and what the coaches are asking you to do? Right? It's easy to start to do your own thing or break off and start to have a little self-doubt, especially on the defensive end where teams have just really shot it well against us. So you have to, just go back to doing the little things. You have to stay together and trust. And, you hope that your leadership, by having, Gary and Williams back, right? I mean, you got Sam Hoiberg, you do have some 5th-year guys in your program. You have to trust, and everybody has to stay connected on the same page or you have no chance in this league, but certainly we've been a really good home team. Even though we've lost a couple in a row, those games with 4 minutes to go are right there. I mean, you just make a couple plays late, and we're not talking about a 6 or 7 game losing streak. You're talking about a team that just needs to continue to protect their home floor to stay in that bubble consideration. But at Oregon's a tough game as well. But teams have played Oregon here tough and beat them here recently. So anything's possible. And then you get Washington, right? The third game here is you're looking on paper on maybe a team that you're better than. And certainly the Washington game 3 games from now is a team that you certainly can get healthy and beat. So, I do like our chances against Illinois. They're a good team, but Fred can coach. Nate Linzer will make some adjustments, and they just got to catch a break and get some confidence back, which, it's hard to do. And like I said, the Big Ten is extremely balanced this year.
Quickly here, Andy, as we just evaluate the home stretch of this Husker basketball season, is it NCAA tournament or bust? Is anything short of that a disappointment in your eyes?
I don't think that's the standard for Nebraska basketball. Certainly, I think Fred built some momentum 2 years ago, last year, getting to the tournament. This year, I think the expectation level was to be back in that conversation. I don't think anybody thought this was a team that was going to finish 4th in an team league like we did a year ago. Yeah, certainly it's a step back, but I don't think it's pull the ripcord and all of a sudden change a bunch of things you're doing. I think the stability is good. I think they have good character in the locker room. I think Fred's got to continue to try to push the right buttons here, and hopefully they can find a win here soon, and then they still have 10 games left to play themselves in the top 11 or 12 in this league, and that keeps you in bubble consideration. So they're 2 games out of 10th place right now. I mean, if you look at the middle to back half of the league, there's very few points that separate whether you're in 8th, 10th, or 16th. And Nebraska's just found a way to lose, I think 5 games now by 3 points, and it certainly changes the outlook on the season when those are losses and not wins.
Eddie Markowski with us, Hail Varsity Radio. We'll get a little bit more time with Andy coming up here as the Pride of Ord back with us. We'll dive into some more Big Red thoughts, plenty of football, and some Husker baseball next hour. Michael Bruntz going to be with us as Bruntz will check in, Husker 24/7 Sports, get his thoughts on Nebraska baseball, and yes, of course, a little hoops and some football. And we'll spend time with Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch going to be with us in hour 2. We had to do a bit of an audible from Mitch, which is good. We'll check in with him here in hour 2. 489-1240. Emails, get those in if you like. Chris at hailvarsity.com. Can also tweet. Different ways to do that at HVarsity Radio. Can tweet there to get into the show and jump on and be part of the YouTube channel, Hail Varsity YouTube. Be a part of that community when you log on and subscribe. And, right now the buzz and the feel with Husker basketball is you just you're waiting for something good to happen. And you're not sure how Thursday's going to go. Man, Nebraska's in it. The schedule is right what Andy's talking about, where you're just right there in a couple of games that are quote winnable. You're favored. You didn't get it handled. You've lost some tough ones on the road to the ranked fellas, and can you stay with it enough to climb out of this dark place?
Well, and once the schedule gets easier, which that's coming up.
Where you at?
Where you at? What is your mental status at that point?
We'll get more from Andy here. Reminder to get buckled up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives, prevents injuries only if properly worn. Make it click. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
More high school basketball this next week with coverage of the Heartland Athletic Conference Tournament. You can join us for all the action with select coverage Thursday, Friday, and Saturday right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR. Live, local, in our community. The KFOR Sportscasters Club has long been a supporter of young athletes and academics in Lincoln and Lancaster County. Follow your favorite team on air and online at KFORnow.com. Powered by Slim Chickens and Bison Inc. Stay connected to Lincoln and Lancaster County High School athletics on FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be
ready to refund.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow
Dig down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2, have a plan to get there. Step 3, make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all three with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
Hey, this is Dan Bongino. As a former NYPD police officer, Secret Service agent, and a TV host, I'll bring Nebraska an honest perspective on the
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Eddie Markowski with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Eddie, what's the trick to landing and keeping some in-state high school talent if you're Nebraska? And Elijah and I have been batting this around. You've gotten portal guys, and you've even gotten some portal guys in recent years that have Nebraska roots. All that being said, I'm interested to kind of get your take where you have a high school guy that can be there for multiple years in the program while sprinkling in the portal. And it's been the way of the world right now is roster turnover. It's addition and subtraction. Guys either come back from the portal where they're get old, stay old type mentality, or you just go add new guys like we've seen Fred do and other programs do. Can Nebraska start landing and keeping some in-state talent home? I know Frager's on the roster. That's an in-state kid, but you just have gotten not completely beat up, but the last couple of times you've had Nebraska kids find their way to have good games against their home state school.
Yeah, I know people are making a lot of that. Obviously, there's some talented kids that came out through 2020 to 2022 that are having good college careers, and it's awesome to see. But Nebraska really wasn't in great position as a program when those kids were making their initial decision either, right? Like, so I think to answer your question, we need to win at the level we won at a year ago. We need to stay competitive in a good league. I certainly think revenue sharing will start to tilt towards the big leagues when that goes into effect, and that'll help power conferences like the Big Ten over maybe some other leagues that are maybe good basketball leagues that just don't have the TV revenue coming in like potential football conferences will have. So, there's a lot of things that I think can help them, but ultimately they have to win more. And, if they would have won more when a few of those kids were making decisions 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe a couple of those decide to be a Husker. So, but that being said, there's still a lot of talent out there, regardless of in-state. Those kids didn't go to Creighton either, right? There's just a couple of in-state kids playing at Creighton with Trout and Green. It's not like that roster is full of in-state kids either. Those kids have elected to go away from home. But to your point, Nebraska kids need to stay here. There a few of them are good enough to help you win, but you also can't just go out and sign a bunch of in-state kids. To sign in-state kids, you have to make sure that they're good enough to help you win in the top of a really tough conference in the Big Ten.
It's Andy Markowski with us here. And Andy, let's switch gears here, talk some Husker women's basketball as they dropped a hard-fought game on Sunday afternoon. That being said, the latest ESPN bracketology still has Nebraska in as a 9 seed. They're off to Indiana this weekend with 2 games, Purdue and Indiana. What's your take on what's coming up with the women? What's your take on them being a 9 seed in the tournament, and what's their task over the last month of the season?
Yeah, Sunday was really gettable. I thought we did not play our best basketball against Ohio State. I thought Ohio State played pretty well. Had a couple players maybe shoot it better than what they had shot it. Unfortunately, top 10 or 12 team at home, that would have been a huge resume win. But there's still a lot left to help your NCAA resume. They're, like you said, at Purdue, at Indiana, and then they come home and have Michigan, Oregon, Washington. They go on the road to Maryland. So there's still a lot of tough games that, you find a way to go 10-8, 11-7. If you start to get into that 12-6 range in the league play, that probably moves you up into a 6 or 7 line. I think Nebraska is an NCAA tournament team. I think consistently they've been good over the last 3 weeks. That will have to stay for them to finish the back half of the league competitively. And then they're just estimating 13 teams on the women's side to make the NCAA tournament. So that just speaks that every night, you're going to have to play good basketball to win.
Eddie, what's the week look for you on the high school court?
Yeah, so we Pius Girls is at Gretna East, which would be a top 5 battle of Class B. So both boys and girls are having good seasons at Pius. So Class A looks like it's pretty open for girls and boys, and Class B looks to be the same. So high school basketball is in full swing for the month of February, and then districts and state will be here before we know it.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you soon down at PBA, and we'll talk again. Andy Markowski with us, the Prada Ord, some Big Red basketball thoughts. Andy, take care, and thanks for a few minutes today.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Good to spend some time with Andy. We've got some more stream shout-outs and comments. Jeff checks in and did so a little bit ago. We need to go talk to Jeff for a loan. Says, I'm in, but late. Had to turn in my $100 bet on a 4-leg parlay. Jeff was out of the Maristar, and the payout was $1,050. First ever sports bet.
Well, beginner's luck.
I love it.
Let's start off by saying that, Jeff. Enjoy that. That is beginner's luck, though. That's why I have
Jeff, you're the smartest man alive. I love it. Roddy asking about Mr. Erickson. Apparently, Roddy and Mr. Erickson were in the stream early, but didn't appear early in the starting 5. So don't know what's up there. Bruce in from Spearfish. Mike in from Cali. Good to have him. So, we haven't concocted a parlay, but we'll figure out if there's some props here when we talk to Danny Burke this Thursday with the Super Bowl.
Well, before the Super Bowl, we got a big one coming up, Schmitty. The NFL Pro Bowl flag football game.
Yeah, are you watching that thing?
Oh, you got to bet on it, right?
That might be.
Who are you taking, AFC or NFC in flag football, Schmitty?
I'm taking neither. I'm taking no way, Jose, am I going to go check that thing out. Now, back in the day, it would have been really cool to go to Hawaii for it. But now it's been flipped. So, yeah, Jeff, quit while you're ahead, bud.
They just need to do away with the Pro Bowl as a whole. If we're being honest, it's silly at this point in time.
I thought about for the longest time entering in online because allegedly you too could win a pair of seats to the Pro Bowl, all expense paid. I wonder how many.
Okay, the all expense paid is big because the tickets to the Pro Bowl, what's that worth? $3?
I don't know, but I wonder how many people actually entered in on Westwood One for it. They do the promo every year with their NFL coverage and. Hey, be sure to enter in. Just log on, and I'm just not a contest guy.
I don't know. In 2025, though, I just don't see the point for doing a Pro Bowl anymore. Nobody cares to watch it. It's not even real football anymore. It's flag football.
Well, let me ask this: do you see the point to doing the spring game anymore?
We've kind of talked about this in a roundabout way. From a fan point of view, yes. From a team point of view, there's absolutely no reason to do so. If you're a coach down inside Memorial Stadium right now, you look at the spring game as saying nothing but bad happens from this.
Well,
Injuries, and then other teams are going to come in and scout your talent.
Well, and that's a reality. We'll dive into that with Mitch Sherman next hour. We'll check in with Michael Bruntz and get ready for some baseball as well. Wind down hour one. Hail Varsity continues. Hail Varsity YouTube channel.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Ole Olson, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage in the arms, hands, legs, or feet.
What are the symptoms?
Symptoms can be numbness, burning, tingling, pain, or even loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we see amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call Asuta Health today for a nerve damage screening. This screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Simply call 402-745-3115. Act now. Call 402-745-3115 for your free nerve damage screening. Be among the first 10 callers and get this important screening for free. 402-745-3115.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Good afternoon from the 1011 Newsroom. I'm Cole Miller. Coming up, with those fears of immigration arrests swirling in one northeast Nebraska town, we're there asking officials what's going on and getting answers. Plus, the union representing teachers in our state lays out what it wants to see the legislature tackle this session. And during this National Mentoring Month, a look at how one program is impacting young lives. These stories and much more tonight.
Lincoln's Wild Bird Habitat stores have a selection of bird feeders, bird baths, and birding supplies you won't find anywhere else. And their wild bird feeds are premium grade, guaranteed to attract more of your favorite birds. With winter upon us, what better way to enjoy nature than from inside your warm home, watching birds at a backyard bird feeder?
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Winding down this first hour, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Hail Varsity Radio. So, Nebraska, the 19th best odds to win the college football playoff for 2025-2026 per Circa Sports. So
we reached this part of the offseason already.
Well, I'm just saying, you put 100 down, you could win $10K.
Yeah, you could.
10,000 to 1, is that right? Is that how it works out?
The odds are plus.
So it's plus 10,000.
So $100 wins 10,000.
Yeah. You want to go halvesies?
I don't feel like losing $50 right now. Personally. Maybe there's value.
I'll ask Junior.
Well, maybe there's value in making the playoff. Schmitty,
big time value.
We had this conversation last week. Until Nebraska's blue chip ratio is well north of 50%, I'm not going to put my hard-earned money down on what is a bit of a pipe dream. Not to say that Nebraska can never win a national championship ever again. Next year, the odds are stacked against you unless, as we talked about, you have that blue chip ratio over 50% and realistically over 70%.
Well, you can either do that by recruiting and retaining, or you can do that by the portal, and away you go.
If it was $100 to win 100,000, I'd consider it.
Sure.
Like 10 to win 10,000. You know what? That's a all right little flyer. The odds right now, they're not good enough.
Do you know anybody out there that put a futures bet down on Indiana football?
No.
I mean,
I know a lot of people who've made a lot of money betting the under on Husker win totals year after year after year.
No, I mean, there's a lot of folks who've done that. Real Matthew checks in.
What I think we're at 11 straight years of Nebraska's win total hitting the under.
Possibly.
Something like that.
Speaking of blue chip ratio, it is a big recruiting weekend, Elijah, just so you know. I know you've got notes down, but you got your junior day coming up this weekend, and just some names and notes. You've got Devin Jackson, a cornerback that's committed to Florida that'll be here. Jordan Campbell is a linebacker that's committed to Miami that's also looking. You've got Kelvin Obert, offensive tackle, Gregory Patrick, and Jean-Claude. I made the John part up, but Claude Mpoma. Those are 3 offensive tackles that are in the on-3 top 300. Michael Blade, defensive end, going to be on hand, supposed to be visiting this weekend for Nebraska's junior day. Jabari Bradley's a wideout that Florida, Ohio State, and Oklahoma are in on, that Nebraska's getting a look-see on. Ryan Mosley from Georgia, an athlete there. And then you've got Cason Thomas from Iowa. And then the linebacker, Jace Reynolds out of Elkhorn North, that's checking things out. So just some names. You've got Dayton Raiola that'll be in, of course, Vladin Sone, defensive tackle that was supposed to be in Bama this weekend, that's going to be in Lincoln. So
and junior day, important first impression.
Yeah.
There's also plenty of names that will be in town that we'll never hear about ever again.
But at least you got him here.
At least you got him here. The question to me moving forward is, realistically, with the 105 limit, how much does Nebraska have room for in their class of 2026?
So, and not that Rocco, but this Rocco back in the stream says, if Nebraska can win 9 or 10 games this upcoming season, I can see Rule and Co. getting some more blue chip recruits and transfers. You gotta do it on the field.
We'll do the math. You do it on the field, you get it in the checkbook, and then you can disperse that how you so choose.
Yes, you can. Mike in Catley says, don't sleep on Dayton. No, you got some folks that have seen a lot of football that really like what maybe he can be. Bruntz and Sherman on the way.
Hi, David Brooks here, president and founder of Retire Smart, inviting you to join me and Chip Maxwell every Saturday morning at 7 or Sunday mornings at 6 for the Retire Smart radio show. We'll provide you answers to your most pressing retirement questions and help you navigate ever uncertain financial times. Don't just retire, retire smart. That's Saturday mornings at 7 or Sunday mornings at 6.
Investment advisory services offered through Smart Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor.
Roper & Sons has been serving generations of families for over 120 years. I'm Dean Schneider, a funeral director and co-owner at Roper & Sons Funeral Home. We are proud to be locally owned and operated, serving Lincoln since 1901. What sets us apart is our commitment to providing every family the compassion and care they deserve. We personalize each service to help you celebrate the most important aspects of your loved one's life. Roper & Sons, because every generation tells a story.
Progressive knows we all crave validation.
Girl, you are not 37.
I would have guessed 27.
You guys are too sweet.
Sure, dewy skin.
Terrific. Is something wrong, Ned?
Why would you ask? Just because today marks my 10th anniversary without a car accident or even a speeding ticket? But somehow, tonight's all about your skincare.
Wow. With Snapshot from Progressive, you can get a personalized rate based on how you drive. And that's all the validation you need. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliate. Snapshot not available in California from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
Watch out! You got me! The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. A federal judge putting the brakes on President Trump's executive order freezing federal funding across agencies. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has details.
It's a temporary administrative stay through next Monday. Judge Lauren Ali Khan, a Biden appointee, will hear more arguments then to determine whether to put in place a temporary restraining order. An attorney for the Trump administration struggled to explain to the judge the full impact of the pause on federal grants, and the lawyer for the groups who are suing was similarly hard-pressed. Officials from coast to coast have reported widespread confusion and alarm about the possible impact of the grant pause.
Newly sworn in Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem joining federal agents today in raids in New York City. The Trump administration ramping up deportations of migrants, saying violent criminals are at the top of the list. Frank Tarantino is the DEA special agent in charge of the New York Division on recent arrests.
This is part of the drug trafficking community. This is exactly what we are designed to do, and that is to target the most significant drug traffickers and drug trafficking organizations who are causing the most harm. And some of those happen to be criminal illegal aliens.
New Orleans police chief today reassuring residents and visitors that the city and law enforcement are working to secure this year's Super Bowl and also Mardi Gras events. It follows the New Year's Day Bourbon Street terrorist truck attack that killed 15 people. Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick.
We're going to have an incredible Super Bowl. We're going to have a great and fun time. And then followed by Mardi Gras.
The Kansas City Chiefs square off against the Philadelphia Eagles for the Super Bowl on February 9th. France's president announced the famed Mona Lisa will be moved while the Louvre gets a facelift. The Italian Renaissance portrait will be on display in its own dedicated space. Repairs to the museum are expected to take a decade. Visitors will need special tickets to view the Mona Lisa. You're listening to ABC News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Efforts to curb juvenile reoffenders and violent crimes. Hello, I'm Will Wilson. It's 57 degrees at KFOR. One of the items Nebraska Supreme Court Chief Justice Jeffrey Funk highlighted in his State of the Judiciary address to state lawmakers today was juvenile probation. He says out-of-home placement has been cut in half since 2013. On any given day in Nebraska, nearly 2,700 youth are on juvenile probation.
In executing its duties, Nebraska juvenile probation has become a nationwide leader in juvenile justice, and our results exceed national standards.
An area of particular concern in the Omaha area where teens have been accused of committing violent crimes while on probation, Justice Funk said recidivism is at an all-time low of 17%. But he adds juveniles responsible for violent offenses remains a priority. As rumors circulate over possible ICE activity and arrests in parts of eastern Nebraska, there are some employers concerned about any deportations that could affect their workforce.
Labor related to new immigrants in our community certainly is a really, really important part of this economy. And employers will tell you that. That's been a clear issue for them.
On Lincoln's Morning News on KFOR today, Lincoln Chamber of Commerce President Jason Ball said there needs to be a better, more sustainable approach to how the country is doing immigration because there needs to be a better, sustainable approach to workforce. Ball says the chamber at the same time also understands and supports reasonable national security and border control. December 2024's unemployment rate in Nebraska remains the same as it was in November at 2.8%. The Nebraska Department of Labor says the state's rate is fifth lowest in the country. Lincoln's unemployment rate for December was 2.4%, seasonally adjusted. Omaha's was at 2.8%. Lincoln's first forecast, clear skies overnight with a low near 29. I'm Will Wilson, KFOR News.
These are today's top headlines.
President Trump halts funding for public service programs and federal grants. The Justice Department fires every official who investigated Trump. Meanwhile, across America, egg and meat prices are still climbing.
Don't miss a thing. Stay connected for whatever's next.
News that affects you. On air and on demand, 24/7. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Keep up with the local news, sports, your favorite talk shows, and pro shows on KFOR wherever you roam. Stream us 24/7 at KFORnow.com or on your mobile. You can download the free iHeart or TuneIn app and stream KFOR on the go.
The following is a paid program. Content is provided by Hurrdat Media and may contain pre-recorded. The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Thanks for hanging out into hour two. It's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We say hi to Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7 Sports at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. We'll hit some football, some recruiting, some Husker baseball with Bruntsy. Bruntsy, how we doing? Are you out on the deck or patio enjoying the weather, or is it desk/home office time for the interview?
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm looking at the nice weather out there. I see it. It's out there. I went for a little walk earlier. That was kind of nice. I do the old man walk thing now to clear the head a little bit, so that was good.
Do you mumble to yourself walking around the block, or do you just put headphones on and keep those inner thoughts?
Puts headphones on, listens to Hail Varsity Radio, I'm sure.
I'm sure
yes,
Brunsey does. Yeah.
I do that, and when I'm not doing that, I keep the headphones out, make small talk with the neighbors. You guys know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
So
my neighbors don't really talk to me.
Oh, sorry. Is there a story there?
Well, let's just say that we have the Mad German, Gertie the German
yes.
Shepherd. We have a guy that lives behind us. That there's an arms race between my wife and this guy with patio / accessories / backyard landscaping, and Carson and I both believe that our backyard looks like a third world country. We have uttered that publicly to her, and we're losing the arms race.
Well, why don't you just try burying the hatchet? Have you tried baking her cookies maybe?
Her? No.
Your neighbor, whoever this is?
The neighbor. No. He came over and complained about our dog one time, and it's like, what do you want, man?
Bake him some cookies.
No.
Be neighborly. Okay.
Who comes over on a Sunday at 5 and says, your dog's barking? Yeah, your kids are shooting bottle rockets at her. What do you want?
So, I feel like I picked out a scab here.
Is there a story? There's the story. I answered the question.
Brunsey, do you care to get into the middle of this heated neighborly rivalry? You could.
No, I don't want people. I don't want German shepherds and bottle rockets aimed at me. I'm going to stay over here.
If it makes anyone feel better, the rest of the neighbors around that guy don't like him either. So I'm the second least liked neighbor in the neighborhood, at least.
Maybe a fresh batch of cookies could change everything.
Yes, we'll. Anywho, let's talk ball here, Brunsey. What do you feel about a guy named Rocco on the offensive line? It kind of fits, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, a guy named Rocco who plays guard, who I believe had a pretty extensive background in high school wrestling, and a dad that played several years in the NFL. That seems like a pretty decent recipe right there. And that's, that gets you Rocco Spindler, the Notre Dame transfer who's in Lincoln today visiting. So Yeah, it's I would not have put guard, high on the list of Nebraska's needs out of the transfer portal. But if you're thinking you're needing to get your best 5 on the field, I think he would certainly be among that group if he were to become a Husker. So, that it felt like the portal cycle had kind of come and gone, and the sun had set. But with some of the playoff teams playing late and guys not being able to enter the portal till their seasons were over, here we are.
And Bruntz, you can never have too many offensive linemen, right? And
Says the offensive lineman in the room.
The portal season never sleeps, and if there's a lineman out there, I mean, you can always take some more.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's like best available player, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you've got a chance there, and you guys know how it works with the offensive line too. I mean, if you are able to add somebody at guard, that allows you to keep certain guys at certain spots. It allows you to potentially move Justin Evans to center, which I think that was kind of where things were trending once Ben Scott moved on. So there's certainly, I think, a very strong reason for what Nebraska is doing here. They're also going up against basically Michigan and Indiana for him, and kind of under the gun a little bit. His classes have already started in Lincoln. I believe you can still get somebody in next week, but it's kind of getting close to the buzzer there for making that happen. So I would not expect this decision to drag on too much past the weekend between, like I said, Nebraska, Michigan, and Indiana, and if there's any mystery suitors out there as well.
Michael Bruntz with us, Husker 24/7 Sports, at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. Bruntsy, we kind of touched on that offensive line topic and kind of the mixing and matching and getting a best 5 on the field. Let's talk Junior Day for a moment. A big weekend for Nebraska. They've got a number of kids coming in that are pretty highly touted, and it's always good to get some FaceTime with Coach Rule and some of the staff. And talk to me a little bit here about and this is a wheelhouse school that Nebraska and Coach McBride would always recruit. Mount Carmel out of Chicago. We know it most recently for Nebraska basketball, probably 10, 12 years ago. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Mount Carmel was where Donovan McNabb was from. I'm thinking, I don't know. That just kind of rings a bell. But Chicago used to be a good spot for Nebraska, the Nate Turners of the world. Or, Nebraska land a handful of kids out of Chicago. You've got Claude Impuma that's also visiting. What do you know about this offensive tackle, a trio coming to Lincoln here for Junior Day?
Yeah, you mentioned Claude Impuma, Calvin Obot. I'm terrible with pronunciations, but he's from Idaho. Both of those guys have already been to Nebraska once on their own dime. Are coming back again. Claude's spending the whole weekend in Lincoln to kind of check things out. And, I think Nebraska, you kind of look at what they've done along the offensive line in the last couple of classes with the freshmen that they've brought in from high school. I think they've done a really nice job of finding, projectable guys that you can develop. And it's not like a 3-year thing with a lot of these guys. Like, you can see a roadmap where by the end of year 2, you're probably going to have a good idea of where they're at and how they develop. So, Chicago's been, an area that Nebraska and Matt Rule have hit with more aggression, I think, over the last couple of years. EJ Barthel's done a really nice job, I think, of kind of reestablishing Nebraska in that area in some ways. I mean, it's a pretty highly contested part of the country because it's a major metropolitan area. You can get a lot of places pretty easily from there. You've got Notre Dame right down the road. Mm-hmm. It's Big Ten country, so Ohio State's not far away, and Michigan's not too far either. So it's definitely in an elbows out type place that you have to recruit. And I think Nebraska's done a good job of getting back in there and finding some guys that that they've really put in work with. Another player out of Chicago that's coming in too, Mikhail Blade. He's a 4-star edge rusher. Kind of the suspects that you would expect to have offered: Ohio State, Michigan, a lot of SEC programs. Matt Rule was just to see him last week. He's going to be in Lincoln this weekend as well. So that's an area that I think if you can pull a kid or two out of every year, you're doing pretty well there. And like I said, I think Chicago, St. Louis, those are two areas that Nebraska has really kind of put in a lot of work to try to reestablish themselves in that 500-mile radius.
Schmidt, I've been doing some research here on Mount Carmel.
Yep.
Notable alumni. That's a long list. Ed Stewart.
Yeah, I thought Ed was, I know it was Donovan McNabb. I was right with Nate Turner.
Nate Turner, Ed Stewart. You also have Simeon Rice, the former 3rd overall.
Simeon was big time.
And then how about this one for a poll? The current head football coach at the school and an alumni, 2013 Heisman Trophy finalist Jordan Lynch. Remember that record-breaking year he had for Northern Illinois?
Yeah. And then you had Johnny Mitchell out of Simeon High School. Mm-hmm. It's another kind of
Simeon High Schools. They've had everybody.
So those are the two.
Shout out D Rose.
You want to grab Bruntz. You want to go to Mount Carmel or Simeon and find their dudes for sure.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. That, like I said, that's if you're talking 500-mile radius recruiting, obviously Kansas City is going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis is big too, and then there's the talent in Chicago to certainly make it worth your while if you can get there and start pulling people out of there.
Bruntz was so nice for us just sitting there for 2 minutes and naming former sports stars and having the best time ever.
We were
Bruntz
playing,
patiently waiting along.
Bruntz cracking a beer and he's playing bingo with us. It's fine. So let's talk some Husker baseball. Folks are excited about the lineup, the offense, the schedule. And you look, and Bruntz, you just did a story this week on Husker 24/7 Sports about Mason McConaughey. And you kind of looked at last year as a sophomore, how well he performed. And, the topic now is how do you build on that? Of course, you got Coach Childress, and confidence is always big on the hill. I know that, but kind of go into some secondary pitches, Bruntz, with McConaughey. That's going to be big, isn't it, for him to take that next step, not only as the guy, but also, maybe bring the rest of those arms along as well to put it together, offense with this lineup, and then, of course, just dominance on the mound.
Yeah, no, he's kind of the next man up. Sears was obviously, the guy last year, and, you have to remember this time last year, nobody, was really expecting a ton out of him. He'd had a strong summer the year before, but at least for Nebraska, had kind of largely not done much. McConaughey was kind of the same way. He came from junior college last year, didn't have a great fall. Started out last season when he was just basically a bullpen arm for the first month or so of the season. Made his first start in the middle of March, and then just kind of took off from there, and really kind of solidified himself as the Saturday starter. And when you kind of dig into the numbers with Sears and McConaughey from last year, McConaughey was not that far off. Especially strikeout wise from what Sears was. He struck out more than a hitter an inning. And he did that with, basically 2 pitches. He threw 3, but the changeup maybe wasn't up to snuff last year. That's something that he really worked on this summer. He didn't go out for summer ball because he'd thrown a lot of innings, dropped 10 pounds, and worked really hard on kind of endurance and getting his body right and setting himself up for this year. And, I think he's going to be a guy that, is going to have to be that Friday night guy. They feel like they've got some other veteran arms that they can kind of roll in behind him on Saturdays and Sundays. And certainly I think the bullpen depth is better than it has been the last couple of years. So there's some confidence over there that they can kind of line things up. And as you guys kind of know, whatever pitching depth you think you have in February or in January, you can suddenly look very different by March and April if guys don't perform. But a lot of that's going to start with McConaughey on the mound on Friday night. So get the first crack there, and he's going to be challenged right out of the gates with the schedule Nebraska's put together with having to go to Louisiana for 3. You've got LSU on that schedule for 1 game. Vanderbilt's there too. The 3 against Oregon State here in Lincoln. So he's going to need to be ready to go and really kind of grab the reins on that Friday night role.
Bruntz, do you think it's more important for Nebraska to find and develop an ace, likely being McConaughey, or to find a fourth starter, a guy that can go and be a midweek guy and lock things down for you after all the issues you had there last year? If we're talking pitching, what do you think is more important for the Huskers in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I think, having, Will Bolt always talks that, the difference between hosting a regional and going somewhere for a regional is typically 4 or 5 games. And, for Nebraska, the last couple of years, those have been on the midweeks. And, they just have not had the type of starting pitching depth that you would like to see to kind of, get you off to a good start on some of those Tuesday and Wednesday night games. You kind of look at the rotation the way it is now. You've got Christo coming back. Jalen Worthley's going to be, both of those two guys are going to be kind of the glue guys, the multi-inning relievers. Maybe they help you as a starter on a midweek. But, the Nebraska feels pretty good about, I think, what they have with some of these freshmen as well. Gavin Blachowicz, kid out of Kansas City, he's thrown really well. Jay-Sean Unger from Blair, they really like what he can be. As well. So those might also be midweek options. I mean, I just think they have a few more higher quality arms this year than what they did last year. And that's usually what it takes to, win those midweeks and really kind of run up that win total, because they've been fine on weekends in the years past. It's just, getting those midweeks and they've scheduled pretty aggressively with some Big 12 teams that they're going to be playing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So they're going to need to be up for that.
Well, can't wait for it. Michael Bruntz with us, Husker 24/7 Sports, at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. Bruntz, about 20 seconds or so. What else coming up from you, bud, with Husker 24/7?
Yeah, I mean, we're just tracking what's going to be a little bit more of a focused junior day on Saturday. Kind of the last recruiting event, I guess, before they go into a dead period in February. Baseball is going to get rocking and rolling here. Matt Rule's talking on Saturday for the first time in over a month. So we're going to have plenty going on at Husker 24/7. It's a good time to hop on board, and it's going to be pretty busy.
Looking forward to it. Good stuff with you and Shafe and, of course, BC. Bruntz, we'll talk again. Thanks for the time, man.
Anytime, guys. Thanks a lot.
Where's the perfect place to go for lunch every day? Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Where can you watch all of your favorite college and professional sports all season long? Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Who's got family-friendly entertainment all throughout the week, including trivia, music bingo, and live music every Friday? Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Hurrdat Sports Bar in La Vista is the spot for lunch, date night, corporate events, or even a late-night cocktail. A one-of-a-kind spot for sports fans and more. Behind Cabela's in La Vista. Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. Babbel is designed with you in mind. From expert-created lessons to conversational video units and even live classes, you can personalize your Babbel experience to be exactly what you need to really learn a new language more easily. Go ahead, set a goal for yourself. Accomplish it with Babbel. Try Babbel for free. Go to BABBEL.com. That's Babbel.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
Thank a teacher who has made a difference in your life. In honor of Nebraska Teacher Recognition Day in March, KFOR, Aloe Fiber, and Lincoln Public Schools Thank You Teacher Contest gives current and former students a chance to show their appreciation. 5 teachers and the students that nominate them will be invited to a special breakfast at the Governor's Mansion. Submit your entry at KFORnow.com. Nominations must be received by 5 p.m. January 31st. Say thanks to your favorite teacher today, courtesy of Aloe Fiber and KFOR.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet.
It's that time.
Hey, Mitch. Mitchie. We're looking for you, pal.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, talking Big Red.
Unleash the fury, Mitch.
Unleash the fury!
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Good to spend some time. Mitch Sherman with us here, hour 2 at Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and you in the stream and on the Hail Varsity Radio Network. And find Mitch with The Athletic. Read him there at Mitch Sherman on Twitter and the Locked On Nebraska pod. Be sure to check that out. Awesome work with Mitch. Mitch, good to have you, bud. Thanks for a few minutes. How we doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Elijah inspired me to walk outside with his commentary about how it's nice outside. So I'm sitting on my back patio. Sun's still up at 5:30. I think we're on the back end of this thing.
I love it. Captain is out having a drink and a cigar listening to us. Last time I think you were outdoors, Mitch, doing the show. You were on your roof about a year ago. Might have been.
Yeah, I've been outdoors since then during the show. I just didn't tell you. But yeah, that was a memorable one.
You're breaking up here. You're breaking up.
No, I appreciate that from Mitch because we're trapped in his studio and he's outside. And he doesn't want to just shove that in our faces like, oh, hey, guys, by the way, I'm outside. I know you guys are stuck inside, but
that's pretty good. So a lot to get to. We'll hear from Coach Rule on Saturday. And Mitch, I know you did some questions that are out there for Nebraska with your latest story with The Athletic. And what's your feel, man? Elijah and I were talking about this last hour about spring football, kind of a new era of college football, but the reality in a 105 man roster with NIL investments, and you don't want to get dinged, you don't want to get poached. Is the spring game just going to be what this year? What do you think?
It's hard to say what it's going to be this year, but I think some of the silence about it and the lack of an announcement, tickets aren't on sale, it definitely makes me think that they're giving a lot of thought to how to handle that date when spring practice is over. I'm hard pressed to offer a prediction on what I think the spring game itself is going to look like this year. It might just be normal because there are enough players still on the roster, but there's a lot of factors that make me think, even if we get one this year, that next year and moving forward, when you're in the 105-man roster era, they're just not going to happen. Like, you're not going to get regular spring games where it's put on the full pads and play 60 minutes of football. And very few schools, to be real, do that now. But Nebraska has, for the most part, there have been a couple years where they've deviated in some kind of a different format. But for the most part, we've gotten that every spring. And honestly, like, it usually is, it promises to be more than what it actually is. You know, there have been years where you get a new quarterback, like we saw with Dylan Raiola last year, and he stole the show last year, and that was great. And I'm glad that they did it, and it was worth the price of admission to see him on that stage. But I don't think that's going to be the norm. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what it's going to look like this year. Maybe it'll look somewhat normal, but I think the days of a full game and having 70,000 people there, 60,000, whatever it is, are probably past us. They're going to have to bring the people in and entice them in some way other than promising a football game in April.
Do you just have the Savannah Bananas play in Memorial Stadium in April? I saw Troy Dannon tweeting at them earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, a concert, another sporting event, some other kind of unique attraction. There's a lot that's going on out there, like in regard to Memorial Stadium, that we're not sure about. Like we don't know the big. Well, at least Troy Dannon hasn't announced the big plan that Nebraska has for what's going to happen to the stadium after next season, and how they plan to renovate things and avoid having the south end zone gone for a year, which was the old plan, not the new plan. So we've been in kind of this dry spell where we haven't gotten a lot of information because Nebraska coaches have been coming down from the bowl game and finishing work in the transfer portal. And they've been busy, of course, on the road recruiting up through the end of this week. But I think we're going to be getting it at a more steady flow here, probably starting Saturday when Matt Rule holds a press conference for the first time since the Pinstripe Bowl. News about the stadium, news about the spring, how they're handling the roster. Special teams is still hanging out there as a big question too. So a lot to be addressed here as we get into February.
Mitch, let's focus in on special teams. And do you think it's internal? There's candidates there. You've had folks speculate with some of the familiar names that have Nebraska ties, that have done special teams before, coached special teams before. Do you think we'll get an announcement Saturday?
It's possible. Way back at the beginning of this thing, I know there was talk about Mike Eckler, and I don't know where that's at. Like, it's been quiet, and perhaps there needed to be a wait until the end of the month because of a contract situation. I mean, I don't think that that's the reason that they're holding a press conference on Saturday, because it's the first day, of the month of February. I think this is just when Matt Rule's getting back into town. They've got a junior event going on at the stadium on Saturday, so I appreciate that he's going to take some time to talk to the media in the morning, and then still do that. But I don't know. I don't know if for sure that we'll get an announcement, but I do think we'll get some clarity. I do think we'll get some kind we'll get some questions answered about what's happening with that position. I don't think it's just, I'm still looking and I haven't found the guy. I think he has a plan and an idea about what he wants to do. And for me, the bigger question is just how they're going to approach it. They're going to have a coordinator, or they're going to have coaches who work with special teams, like a coach or coaches, multiple coaches. But the bigger question is what is the attitude? What is the approach to special teams, and how does that fit into what he described as an overhaul after the bowl game? Or what are they going to do different? Because if it's not really approached different, then you can put all these pieces together. They've added a punter and a long snapper and a return specialist through the portal and made a change in the coaching situation, but they're going to have to approach the whole phase of that game, that phase of the game differently, like from a top-down level, in order to really, I think, overhaul it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mitch, maybe this is just me reading the tea leaves incorrectly here, but there hasn't been much smoke about any external candidates with the special teams job, which kind of makes me think they're staying internal with it. And I can't say that with certainty, but if it's internal, does that strike you as the kind of complete overhaul that Matt Rule talked about after the season?
Well, it could just be then that like what I just said, that it's not about the names and the people, it's about the approach. And they're going to overhaul the way that they prepare, that they game plan, the way that they get ready for practices, how they emphasize it in practice, who's involved. I don't necessarily I understand your logic there, and perhaps it will be internally. They have Josh Martin on staff who has worked with special teams for the last 2 years. Not suggesting that he's going to be the special teams coordinator, but he's somebody on staff who has been involved. I don't know. I guess until you said that, I hadn't really given a lot of thought to it being handled internally. I thought, I continue to think that he'll bring somebody in, but it could go any direction. For me, the bigger issue is just in general how it's approached and how it's handled.
Mitch Sherman's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Mitch with The Athletic, Locked On Nebraska podcast, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, Thursday, Illinois comes to town. Chance for Nebraska to kind of rekindle some PBA magic. They've been on a tough road here with 6 straight losses. And 4 weeks ago, fans are feeling great about Husker basketball. It's turned on a dime since that Iowa second half, Mitch. And, there's still some hope and belief out there as far as the season can get flipped around. But, man, they've just been getting drilled and drilled. It's just huge Thursday night for Nebraska to show a little bit of life, isn't it?
Yeah, to get a win. That's at this point not expected. I think a month ago, any win, any game at home was expected to be a win when Nebraska had won 20 consecutive games at PBA, and now you have back-to-back losses going into a game that's with an opponent that on paper is more difficult than the two teams, USC and Rutgers, that have beaten Nebraska the last couple of weeks at home. So, yeah, it's kind of a vicious cycle Nebraska's in, where it goes out on the road and has a really tough foe on a weekend, and then comes back home during the week, and it has a tight game, a struggle, and the last two they haven't gotten it done. I think you can see it in their body language and the confidence that they're playing with. It's not obviously not good when you're on a 6-game skid. So I don't know. Of course, it starts with just getting one win, and the schedule in February does look to ease up a bit. But the Big Ten there's not a whole lot that's easy out there. And right now, for Nebraska to say, you can't say it gets easy. Nebraska is 17th in the league out of 18 teams. So you're punching up as far as the standings go, no matter what is the situation. I mean, this has been what it looks like. It's been a season killing kind of skid. Now, that's not set in stone. If you can make it go, if it can go one way, it can go the other. But that to me looks like a difficult task for Nebraska right now. It looks like a team. In my concern about this team going in was that Nebraska had two well-rounded, and I don't even know that I'd say that now, but definitely two battle-tested Big Ten caliber starting players. And then it would have to piece things together around Juwan Gary and Bryce Williams. And for a while, it looked like Fred Hoiberg had it figured out. Like there were actually more than those two that were whole players, and they didn't necessarily have to piece it together. And that this was a team that was better than the sum of its parts, and the role players were doing their jobs. And now we're at a spot where it seems that some of the fears from back in the fall are coming true. And maybe even in a way that's playing out worse than what it looked like it could have in November.
We'll see if they can rise up on Thursday. Mitch Sherman with us from The Athletic. Mitch, we'll bump into you down the road, bud. Appreciate you giving us a few minutes today.
Okay, thanks a lot. Take care, guys.
All right, there he is, Mitch Sherman with us with The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter at Mitch Sherman, and check out the pod, of course, Locked On Nebraska. So Redwine says, it's my fault I jinxed Nebraska basketball by saying they would win 4 in a row. They do a lot better when I ignore them. Well, and good insight there from Mitch on what the future of spring football looks like. Open phones here till 6 coming up on Hail Varsity.
More high school basketball this next week with coverage of the Heartland Athletic Conference Tournament. You can join us for all the action with select coverage Thursday, Friday, and Saturday right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Come in and try the Good Feet feeling today. Comfort, energy, performance, and pain relief at the Good Feet store. Visit the store for a free test walk at 27th and Pine Lake Road across from South Point Mall near PetSmart or at goodfeet.com.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You and me and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be
ready the refund.
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
KFOR invites you to join Legacy Retirement's John Kopetsky and his special guests Saturday mornings for the Aging Adventure. Brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. Lifestyle and health topics plus fascinating people. The Aging Adventure, 8 a.m. Saturdays on KFOR.
Ready to tackle your next project? Discover the power of Masterforce tools today. From high-performance power tools to rugged hand tools and much more in between, Masterforce delivers the reliability you need to tackle the toughest projects. Join countless customers who trust Masterforce for its quality and performance, and pick up a new tool today. Masterforce. Power, performance, durability. Only at Menards.
Into Wednesday with KFOR, Schmidt, Carol, and Jeff.
Confirmation hearings resume with RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel. An update on the immigration raids, what happened on Wall Street after Monday's plummet, and tickets to Fiddler on the Roof.
Stream us now, KFORnow.com.
The mission of Paralyzed Veterans of America is clear. Accessibility. Veterans who have served and sacrificed the best of themselves deserve access to the best our country has to offer. Access to meaningful employment. Access to the veterans' benefits they've earned. Accessible homes and vehicles. And access to every part of their communities. With PVA staff working inside VA hospitals, no other veterans organization has provided more real-time, ongoing support for paralyzed veterans and their families. PVA is proud to serve veterans across all branches, all generations, and all.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. You can find us in the stream, Hail Varsity YouTube. And, of course, Hail Varsity Twitter at HVarsity Radio. So if there is no spring game, then what? And we're not saying that this year, but in future years.
I'm feeling
How are you betting? You're betting no spring game?
If I was putting my money on it, I'd put down no spring game this year.
You know, and to be honest with you, the one year that there wasn't a spring game, it was because of the massive rainstorm that, quite frankly, flooded the streets. That was a good afternoon, actually.
Not for me.
Why? Were you?
I was in 7th grade. I was really looking forward to that game.
Okay, I loved it. I didn't have to cover the spring game. That sounds so heinous right now, but I didn't have to cover the spring game. And got to drink a few beers with some guys that were in town. It was cool.
Yeah, but back then the spring game made more sense to do.
Yeah.
Now I get why it doesn't make sense now. Because now if with a 105, you would likely be resting every single one of your starters and then some anyway.
And all your 6-figure guys.
Yeah. That's where the and then some factors in. And now you're down to the bottom half of your roster who, if anything happens to your other guys during the season, you can't have those guys going down with injury. So there's that. And then the aspect of, okay, if we do have the younger guys and some of the guys further down in the depth chart, they show up, show out. Now there's other schools sniffing around saying, man, I need a tight end. I need a running back.
On top of you've got a minimal glimpse of Dana on offense, 4 games, but you have 0. Well, really just 1 bowl game of Butler in this defense. So why not make it a surprise, the opener in Kansas City? Why not make it a surprise for your Big Ten opener?
Yep.
Right? I mean, everyone's talking about Spags and that blitz he saved, the best for last against Buffalo. Well, you don't want to put too much on film. I get it. Coaches are paranoid, and rightfully so, especially after the Harbaugh era. Okay. So if they want to, here's what I'm thinking though. There needs to be an event.
Yeah. There's got to be something
in Lincoln
at Memorial Stadium,
that brings folks, because it is an 8th home game or 9th home game, or however you want to spin it. I mean, it's great for the local economy. Yeah. You want to be able to have folks come into town and still want to come into town. And it was always pretty well stacked. I mean, you would do spring game and then you'd have one of your marquee opponents for baseball and softball in town. You'd like to stack it that way, and you still can. I'm not worried about athletic director Dannon and Rule coming up with a good alternative, but I understand where you don't want dudes getting dinged and you don't want guys getting bought off.
Yeah.
Then that should be your priority, to have the best dudes you can have. They'll still practice their butt off, those 15 practices for spring. You're just not going to get number 15 on BTN.
Well, let's be the priority is to have
priority is the fall.
The priority is to have a product on the field that the fan base will shell out their hard-earned dollars to go watch and support. And part of that is, yes, having a spring football game, but it's much more important to have a team that the fan base wants to support come fall, as you say. So if that's at the expense of the spring game, so be it. You'd find something for the fans, whether that be a kind of different type of fan day than what you do in the fall, combined with the concert. I know Troy Dannon already has been on Twitter talking to the Savannah Bananas, saying he wants a Savannah Bananas game in Memorial Stadium. Everyone's thrown around for years getting a Bud Crawford fight in Memorial Stadium, and that doesn't look possible this year, but something of that ilk. It's a concert. What are you going with? I'm saying, I think if you want a concert that'll make a lot of people happy, you go Coldplay. Not to say I'm the biggest Coldplay guy. You would pack Memorial Stadium, though.
I guess. Get me Eric Church. No? Don't care.
Eric Church would be great for like the CHI Center up in Omaha. I don't need Memorial Stadium.
Give me Zach Brown.
Does it have to be country?
Well,
I understand. I understand it's Nebraska. I understand it's Nebraska.
Have to be country, but I mean, maybe you could have. Who do you want opening? I mean, you can do a multi-layered concert series where you have your hip hop, you have your rock and roll, and you have your country. You don't make it a festival.
Okay.
Husker Palooza.
If there's anything I know about anything that has Palooza at the end, avoid the porta potties.
Yes. That's not a shot at me either, pharmacist Jeff. That's just Elijah's. You've been to Lollapalooza.
Oh yeah. I enjoyed Lollapalooza. Mm-hmm. Avoid the porta potties at Paloozas. They're never good.
They're never good anyway. Coach Brandon says, what about country weekend? Eric Church, Taylor Swift. Why not? I love it, Coach Brandon. If you can make that phone call to Tay-Tay, go for it. Lambert, Adele, I mean, whatever you want to do.
Let's look up most popular artists of 2024.
I would like to see Dave Matthews at Big Sky, but I will take Dave Matthews in the spring in Memorial Stadium.
Would Bruno Mars at Memorial Stadium
Bruno
for
would
you?
Be awesome.
I'd go to
He'd
that.
Be good. Yeah, Bruno's a good call.
Go see Bruno. Ed Sheeran, I don't care. Yeah. Kanye's 2008. That would be cool, but nowadays you stay away from that. Yeah, Coldplay's still up there. Is Radiohead still touring? Apparently, they're still one of the most popular artists of 2024.
Okay,
you'd get 40,000. I'm
thinking for mass appeal, and while Radiohead has a thumbs up with many, I don't know how many thumbs up you get in the state of Nebraska.
Maroon 5,
for sure. James Valentine,
that'd be
big
a cool
Husker
one.
fan.
That'd be a cool one at Memorial Stadium. Mm-hmm. Green Day.
Tiger Shark says Bruno gambles as much as Elijah, I've heard.
I don't gamble much at all. Where are you people getting your information from? That's a low bar for Bruno Mars.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm not sure if you know this. I work in radio. The disposable income for the casino is minimal.
There is some insinuation that the folks that do residencies are asked to do residencies by the casinos. You know, you asked for 17 markers the other weekend. It didn't go well. How about you sign here and we'll see you here Monday through Saturday, twice on Saturday. There we go. Well, the music call's good.
How about this?
Yes, Shane nails it. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Ooh. I saw them 11 years ago at PBA, and Anthony Kiedis had also probably got into a golf cart accident because he had a walking boot on.
And it also works because red.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, could be good. How about this for an idea, though?
Chili peppers. Good call.
Whenever they tear down South Stadium, before they start rebuilding South Stadium, build a mini par 3. You tee off from the 50 or the holes at the 50. And that's what you do for your spring game is you bring people in and they get to kind of like a little par 3 contest. Huh?
Give me a concert stage.
Yeah, it's a better idea for mass appeal and for money. I get it.
Yeah. Well, there we fixed
Husker Media Husker Media flag football game.
There's about
That's
6 Husker Media members, and I'm including myself as outside of the 6 that can ball. Okay. That are still in good enough shape despite their age to ball.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of us, it's an injury waiting to happen.
I bet the people would love to see it.
People do it. All right, we'll wind down to Tuesday next here on Hail Varsity.
Here's a New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Feed the birds. With winter upon us, birds struggle to find food they need to keep warm on frigid nights, and you can help. For 31 years, Wild Bird Habitat has helped people invite birds into their backyards for food and water. And they have all the bird feeding supplies you need to get started. The Wild Bird Habitat stores, Alamo Plaza, 56 on Highway 2, or north at 4900 Dudley Street, where it's always bird feeding time.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
When a parent struggles with addiction or dies from a drug overdose, what happens to their children? Far too many end up in foster care, unable to ever return to their birth homes because it's simply not safe. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is fighting the clock so that teens don't age out of foster care, leaving them at a higher risk of addiction and other negative outcomes that can happen to a child without the love and stability of a permanent family. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Live, local, in our community. The KFOR Sportscasters Club has long been a supporter of young athletes and academics in Lincoln and Lancaster County. Follow your favorite team on air and online at KFORnow.com. Powered by Sandhills Global and Super C Convenience Store. Stay connected to Lincoln and Lancaster County High School athletics on FM 101.5, 1240 AM KFOR.
Culligan has a long history of providing custom solutions to address the area's water worries. Local water issues, including PFAS, arsenic, nitrates, and bacteria, can wreak havoc on your home and health. You can trust Culligan to deliver better water solutions and better service. No one else offers the combination of local expertise.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, get the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play when you subscribe to Hail Varsity Radio and search for Hail Varsity Radio. Check that out. Take us with on demand for you. Also, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Like and subscribe there. Hail Varsity Radio. Twitter at HVarsity Radio. Good stuff from Eddie Markowski, Mitch Sherman, Michael Bruntz, and plenty of thoughts on Junior Day coming up this weekend. And, of course, the saga of Rocco Spindler. Does he make his way into Lincoln?
You buried the most important thing we talked about today, though.
The all media flag football game?
Bowling tonight.
Ah, yes. Forgive me.
The mindset shift is happening. I'm going from gentleman to stone cold killer.
Competitor.
Stone cold killer is what I like to say when it's
so.
Time.
Are you loading up with because it is pretty glorious to eat at said bowling alley. I mean, we're talking burgers, fries, beers, milkshakes, whatever, or beer and a milkshake. I mean, just go heavy. Are you going to stick to the diet, or are you going to slide a little bit because, well, you're at a bowling alley and those burgers are glorious?
Got food in the fridge, Schmitty. We're going to get
so you've meal prepped.
Fueled up the right way back at home.
Okay.
And then I think you might fuel up with 1 or 2 at the bar right before you get bowling, It's all about being properly fueled.
Right.
And I'm going to properly fuel my body tonight.
That sounds like Canadian Club to me.
No. It's about diet. It's about a couple of beers, maybe a horse tranquilizer, whatever you got. Whatever you need to get feeling right.
The bunny is meeting her.
You're just going to skip over the horse tranquilizer? I thought it was fine.
Yes.
Thank you.
The bunny is meeting her friend at a location for a drink tonight. So I might just go to the gym for a 5th straight day. Look at me pat myself like a loser on the back.
Come to the bowling alley and cheer for the team.
No. I'm going to go sick the German Shepherd on the backyard neighbor. They all do that.
Bake some cookies. Why? What is with you? What, do you want your neighbors to hate you? Bury the hatchet.
I don't care. I want to move as soon as I can. Sell that damn house and off to the sunset I go. Let me move into a duplex or something, and just Junior's out the door here in about 5 months anyway.
See, as your unofficial therapist, Schmitty, I think it's important to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why you haven't taken the steps to bury the hatchet with your neighbor if things aren't going well there.
Guy wears a tank top and his hat backwards year round.
See, now we're coming from a place of judgment, Schmitty.
I'm going to absolutely judge him.
You really need a therapist, huh?
No, I don't. Listen, how many guys 40 and up mow with their shirt off?
A good number. My neighbor, my neighbor growing up did it, and I didn't hate him.
No, but I mean, he probably had some cool tattoos or could take his shirt off. No, he just didn't care.
That's what I'm saying. Once you get to a certain age, who cares anymore? It's probably more comfortable to mow with the shirt off.
But he walks around. I mean, he's kind of gym guy.
Get him a 6-pack. Get him some cookies. Something to be. I'm sure there's some sort of middle ground you guys can bond over.
I don't want to bond. I don't care.
I don't get it. You can't complain about your relationship with your neighbor and then say, "Well, I also don't want to take any steps."
I don't want to get a doorbell. What can we do about your dog? I don't know. Send him to your place.
Maybe he wouldn't care about the dog if you took the necessary steps to bury the hatchet with him.
Ignore it. And guess what? There's 37 other dogs that bark in the neighborhood.
See, this is why people aren't neighborly anymore, Schmitty.
No, that's true.
Who you go into whenever you need a cup of sugar?
We thought it was sugar. Talk to you tomorrow at 4. Have a good one.